Order of the day is to get the rocker cover gaskets done. There's a little bit of seepage around here. There's a lot of seepage under where this tensioner is here, so obviously the tensioner seal's gone. So what I've done, I've clipped the cam belt cover off. I've removed the turbo pipe and the brackets. I've removed the catch can pipe as well. So, and obviously the N249 system, everything else, all the pipe work's been moved out of the way. I've removed the coil packs, you can see up there. Now it's a case of dropping off these 10 mils there and there and there, and some down the back, in order to get this cover off. We'll give this a good clean of paint. We'll get it put back on with new gaskets, seals and everything else. So off we go. Bolts are pretty easy to access, apart from the middle rear and the rear right. They're a bit tricky, so you need a flexible head on your ratchet to get to them. Now just be careful when you're doing this, just make sure you don't drop the bolts, because it's freaking, it'd be a nightmare to get away. You ain't going to get them back, are you, if you're dropping down the back. Beautiful. Cam's looking nice. Now, before we start removing any of this, there's a marker here, and then there's a marker on that cam cap there, and there should be, I think it's 16 links. 16 link bars between the two, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, perfect. So that intake timing's bang on. You can see here, look, where this gasket's stretched over time, and that's what has lifted and caused the leak. The exterior gasket itself actually don't look too bad. The outer gasket on a whole was pretty much intact, and to be fair, probably could have got away without changing that, but obviously in our case it was the inner gasket around the spark plugs that had failed. Right, now we've got everything cleaned up and out of the way. I've put the new centre gasket in. It goes around the middle here. I've just screwed the chain tensioner in. So what we need to do is tighten that down, undo, I think it's these three and that one there, to give us access to the tensioner gasket and the half moon gasket underneath. Now these tensioner bolts apparently are 7 foot-pounds tight. I don't believe for a second. I about broke this tool trying to remove them. So I've just done them as tight as what I can physically do them back up when I've done them back up. best way I found of doing this bit is leaving the last screw, which is this one here, till the very end, and then if you gradually undo it slowly, it gives you some control over how quick the tensioner lifts up. Just prise that up and away. Disconnect this a minute. So that goes in that way. Seen better days. And there's the half moon just down there, which I'm hoping will just pop out. Also, by leaving that screw number 4 in place, it allows you to be able to manipulate the tensioner without the worry that it's going to jump the teeth on the cam and upset the timing. And no, you're not seeing things, there is another half moon seal, that green one there, you can see the top of the battery cover. They don't tell you about that one, but it does pop out. There's no replacement for it, so just make sure you don't damage it. Although that particular gasket comes with some blue sealant on it already, make sure you put some additional RTV on that tensioner seal. Now, when replacing both the half moon seals, the mistake I made here is by not putting RTV on them. I had to go back and reseal them, so make sure you put RTV in the hole before you put the half moon in. Right, I'll count the number again between here and between there and there. So 1 rod, 2 rods, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Perfect, so the time isn't altered. That's awesome. So now I need to put this other new gasket back in, which we'll just use the locating studs for. Not too far down one side. That's it. Nope. Let's make sure that's lying nicely there. That's set in the channel. Now we need to put some RTV in each corner, and I think from memory it's around this half moon, either side of this half moon seal, I think, but I'll go double check that anyway. RTV, funnily enough I borrowed this out of the sump kit that we're going to be doing next. I put a blob here, a blob here, a blob in that corner, a blob in this corner, one there, one at the top here, one either side of the half moon where the seal sits in. So now we can drop the cam cover back on. It's a little bit wet paint wise still, but hopefully it's dry enough for me to get it bolted down. Not the best job in the world, don't judge me, I'm no painter. Definitely no painter. Now there is a prescribed pattern for doing these nuts up, so you start in the middle, then work your way to the outer edges, working diagonally back inwards, which you'll see here. Just make sure you follow it, and just go around, keep tightening them up, because as you tighten the rest of them up, the others will slacken off. Once you got to a point where they're all relatively hand tight, just get your torque wrench, set it to 10 Newton meters, and go around and click it all up. Maybe do it 3 or 4 times just to make sure they're all torqued. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And just like that, it's back together. Still not too bad, to be fair. I'm hoping I've got everything back together right, and I've tightened everything up where I need to tighten it up. There's only one way to find out. Let's get it started. It's been about 2.5 hours, so the RTV should have had a chance to seal. You should see some down there on the side. Let's give it a whirl. Let's see what happens. Well, we're back up and running. That blow on the exhaust sounds like it's getting worse. Just checking I've connected that back up. Yeah, I am. That sounds smooth enough. Oh, looks good to me. So I managed to do a bit of dressing up of the engine. So you can see we painted the rocker cover yellow. I've also done a bit more of the pipe work blue, just to make it pop a little bit more. So future episodes we'll be taking the intake manifold off, and yes, Kevin, I know you're there. We're taking the intake manifold off and painting that up and tightening that up a little bit, as well as some of the other stuff in the engine bay. But today, like I said, we're going to be doing the oil pan, and in order to do that we need to get the engine flush through. Anyway, we've got some Wins engine flush, so with this we've got to bring the engine up to temperature. Once it comes up to temperature, we add the contents to that can and we run it for another 20 minutes. At that point then we can drain the oil, remove the sump, remove the pickup, get everything sealed back up and put together. So let's crack on. So now that's up to temperature, we shut the engine off and we can add this via the oil filler. See how well it pours. Simple as that. Now we can start the car back up, leave it run for 20 minutes, and then we can start to flush the oil. Right, I've not put the TT on the ramps yet, so let's give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? Right, welcome to my head cam on this journey to paradise. Let's get a selection of sockets. I can't remember which one the sump plug is. Let's go to the unknown, which is extremely painful still. Oh, sorry. Headbutted you off the car then. Right. Too big. Perfect. So the sump is a 19mm. Yep, definitely a 19mm. By this point I started to realise just how difficult it was to try and get any kind of purchase on the sump plug, so I should have known that something was wrong here. But after hand cranking it with the open end of the spanner, we're finally starting to get some movement on it. And there we have it, some very dirty, some very runny oil. So assuming everything is okay, we move back to cracking off the gearbox bolts. But little did I know this would soon be my downfall. And there's a well placed third really hard to get to bolt behind the dog bone mount. Just release the oil filler. Try not to lie in the oil. So I tried to install the new sump plug and it was having none of it, and actually I noticed some of the threads come away on the actual sump plug itself when I removed it. At this point I'm not looking for any specific torque, I just want to get this thing done up to a point where it'll actually hold oil. So I'm just being careful to retighten and retorque all the gearbox bolts to make sure that they're all nipped up. So in theory at this point the sump's not moved, so the seal between the gearbox and the sump should still be good. So basically some idiot at the dealership, or whoever touched this car before, has over tightened the sump plug and has stripped the threads on it. So I'm struggling. I've just managed to just nip it up, but if I take it any further it strips the threads. So I think it's tight enough to hold oil for now, but we're gonna have to order a complete new sump pan. So it makes sense that I hold off doing the oil pickup until I've got the new pan and I get the gasket and seals and everything to go with that I've lost. So I'm going to do the oil filter, get the new one on. Oil filter pliers. Yes, if you know, you know. So things are on the up. New sump day. So this one is a kit from BG Automotive. It's about 130 quid from the manufacturers. You get a nice bit of gasket seal with it as well, but we won't be using that. So obviously we've got a nice shiny new sump plug and crush washer. We've got the port for the oil return from the turbo. And we've got this thing here blanking out for the oil level sensor, which has got to go in for the 225. Right, so we've managed to get the old sump pan off with a bit of brute force. So we can now remove the oil pickup, which doesn't look the best, but we'll get that changed and then get the new sump sealed up and refitted. Those screws were a nightmare to get to. I had to use my hex keys at the end to get on them at an angle, So I'm hoping I can get them back in, but we'll see. So there's the new oil pickup pipe in. If you have a look at the old one. That's very gunked up, look, got like a rubber. Ah. When I've done the PCV system, look, it's picked up all the crap out of that. Only that, that's right, what's that there? See that there? There's some washers or something stuck in it. That's bad, that is really, really bad actually. Good job I did that. I'll cut it up in a minute and go through it and see what's in it. I'm going to get that torqued up to spec and then get that sealed back up. So now we just need to fit the oil level sensor in here. So we've undone the bolts on the blanking plate, that just pops out. Then that literally just sits in like that. And we tighten it all back down. So we just applied the RTV to the pan, and we'll get the pan fixed up into place and all torqued up. And there we have it, the new sump fitted. I'm just going to torque all the bolts up to spec. We've got the new, well, we've got the old oil level sensor plugged in, connected in. We've changed the gasket on the oil return pipe for the turbo. That's all bolted in. As you can see, we've got a good squeeze of RTV all the way around. That's all the bolts in. Hard work, but worth it. She's alive, back and kicking. Sand is so much sweeter than before. Not surprised, we probably only had about 20% of the oil pickup pipe actually available. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Now, we've got the car pretty much on the road. It's MOT'd, good to go, mechanically getting pretty sound. Now it's time to start modifying it. So in the next video, we've got a front mount intercooler to fit and a 3-inch downpipe straight through exhaust. Looking forward to getting